Hey, everybody. Welcome. I am Stephen Boster along with Mr. Dr. Matthew Tanner. Did you catch that, Mr. Doctor?
Mr. Doctor, yes, Mr. first and then doctor.
Ah, oh, gosh. Hey, everybody. We're going to have a good time today, but we're going to be talking about a tough subject. And Matt and I really wanted to share with everybody, especially we have a lot of friends who are pastors who are going through a whole lot and ministry leaders. And so one of the things we want to do is just offer over the next 4 weeks. I'll talk about schedule here in a minute, but just a way to encourage you, to equip you, some really good tools. And so we're pretty excited about it. And so I'm going to go ahead, just for the sake of time, we wanted to keep this to 30 minutes. It may go longer because we can be blowhards. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we get paid to talk, so we're fine.
Right. All right. So what we're going to talk about is building resilience in ministry. And what we want to do is give you some strategies for self-care and avoiding burnout. So this is part of our own Resilient Pastor series that we're doing. And one of the things I want to talk about, what each of us do and what we're a part of, is I am with Servants by Design. And one of the things that we do is we create communication, personality specific resources to help you live a healthier, more connected, spirit filled life with yourself, with God, and with others. We've got different profiles that really help you understand God's design for you, to help you understand what encourages and motivates you, how you view the world, along with really a predictable pattern of distress. So these distress patterns and how you can circumvent them and how you can be healthy. But it also helps you in your relationship with God, and it helps you in your relationship with others. Matt is part of Wounded Leadership. So, Matt, you want to talk a little bit about Wounded Leadership and kind of where that's come from?
Yeah, absolutely. Wounded Leadership was born out of my doctoral project in creating a strategy for pastors who have been unjustifiably terminated or forced to resign from their ministries. Basically, they're forced out of the ministry for unbiblical reasons. And I just found a brand new statistic today that said 78% of pastors will be forced to resign their post in this way. And so what Wounded Leadership helps to do is bring healing and go through the levels of healing to all the way up to leadership development lessons, so they become stronger, healthier leaders and be able to go back into ministry. So helping those have been wounded. This is in churches. This is also in corporate world. Those have been wounded in some form of leadership dynamic. Help them heal. Help them find their footing again, find their strengths again, and see their way back into new and greater leadership potential.
Very cool. So yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about your book here in just a moment. I do want to talk about our other sponsor for today is Simplify Church. Simplify Church, I help them. I'm their operations manager to help them as well. And one of the things we do is we make church finances simple. So we really provide bookkeeping and financial support for small and growing churches. The exciting thing is we pretty much take that administration pain off, the bookkeeping stuff that a lot of pastors, they'll say, I didn't get this in seminary. That's okay. We're here to help you. Really,
Absolutely.
we do the administrative bookkeeping stuff so you have more time for ministry. And we serve over 200 churches nationwide. And it's pretty exciting. So I'm able to use my skill sets with the team, but also with a lot of pastors that we connect with. So pretty excited about that, with them coming on board to help us. So, all right. Well, with that, a little bit about who I am, everybody. I just mentioned a little bit, but I'm the managing owner of Servants by Design, the CEO of Communicate for Change. We do business as Servants by Design. We are the spiritual application of what's called the process communication model, exclusive worldwide rights to that. I have a Master's of Divinity from Midwestern Baptist Theological Seminary. I also have an MBA from Fontbonne University in St. Louis. I have served in ministry in some form of capacity, either as laity, a full-time pastor for a while, even bivocational, even a church planner. It's probably totals over 30 years. I hate to say that because it makes you sound old.
It's creeping up on us, man.
Yep. But I do serve as a coach, a trainer, and consultant, primarily with the Servants by Design profiles and communication trainings. But I'm also operations manager for Simplify Church as well, because I get to use my skill sets every day and I love it. Love it, love it, love it. But then also with us is Dr. Matthew Tanner. Man, I'll let you read this one.
Yeah, let me see if I can read my own slides, see if I learned something about myself today.
You like that?
So yeah, I'm the owner, founder of Wounded Leadership Ministries. I received MDiv, a THM, which is a master's in theology, and also a doctorate in ministry and leadership development, all from Midwestern Baptist Theological Seminary. So that means I have donated a lot of time, money, and energy to Midwestern. And now I have a daughter that's in their undergrad, so I think I own half the campus. Uh, but I come in as a pastor's kid, a PK, served as a laity, full-time bivocational ministry, pastorate in interim work, in let's see, associational mission work, training all over the world. And so I also am a coach, counselor. I'm also the lead counselor for the Wounded Leadership Center for Biblical Counseling. Trainer. I'm a certified mediator, trained mediator, arbitrator, consultant. So I do a lot, and also the author, and we'll talk more about it later. Author of the book, The Wounded Pastor, that's from Acclaim Press, and find it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and all of that.
The one thing I have to say this real quick, 20 seconds, is I like about your book is you outline a path to give just pastors a heads up of here is the struggle. At some point in your ministry, there is a huge possibility that you're going to be unjustifiably terminated. And these are the steps of the struggle that you're going to face. And I like how you give a plan of action on that to help. So nicely done.
Absolutely.
I do like your book.
The reader of the book, and also we're going to talk about the webinar in a minute. You're going to get a lot of that there, but the book is going to kind of give you the scope of the problem and let you know what really happened to you, or what could potentially happen as you are in ministry. And they also
even someone you know. That's the other
somebody
part.
They apply to lay leadership, things of that nature. And there's a distinct 4-step strategy. There's some preventative stuff, there's some maintenance stuff, and there's some post-event stuff that you can do to really help you heal. So,
yep. All right. Well, with that, as he said, let's talk about our schedule real quick and why we're doing this. Schedule is today we are talking about the crisis pastors are facing, but not talking about, and it really is about burnout. We're going to be discussing pastoral burnout, what that looks like, and the stats all around it. We have brand new stats as he shared. We have some more stats. We're the nerdy guys. We have all the stats and stuff. I'm just kidding,
right?
And all, but we've got stories to tell. You printed it out. That's awesome. Week 2, next week, we're going to talk about permissions, giving yourself permission to be human as a pastor. So today is the data and a little bit story of the struggles of pastors that we know and things that they're facing. But then also giving next week is really the application, the beginning steps of application, giving yourself permission. Week 3 is, which is going to be on March 22nd. We're going to talk about beyond the Sunday face. So how to embrace emotional authenticity. And I've read some books about emotional authenticity, but I think we've got some good practical aspects that you can apply that relate to emotional authenticity. And that relates a little bit to permissions, but goes a little bit deeper. And then week 4 is running on empty and how pastors can manage energy. And on that week, I'm going to be talking primarily about your emotional, psychological, motivational needs and what that looks like and what best things that you can do to help you really encourage yourself, motivate yourself, refuel, re-energize, recharge. And so we've got just jam-packed all kinds of stuff over the next 4 weeks. Well, today and then the next 3 weeks. Now, you may be asking, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Well, we wanted to give a really good, I don't want to say preview. What's the prequel? A prequel to our Pastors Resiliency webinar, which is happening in April. It's going to happen on Tuesday evenings in April. Now, what makes this different is we really go into more detail on specifically to give you your own personality profile specifically for you. You get and then also you'll get within that training and development on that profile what that is, but also Dr. Matthew Tanner will be doing his book and going into details about his book, specifically what is that plan, what does that plan look like. The bonus is it's going to be Tuesday evenings, as I said, from 6 to 9 Central Standard Time. So from 6 to 8 is we're doing the trainings, and then from 8 to 9 we're bringing in some experts in their field to really talk about different aspects. So you can do Q&As, we're going to do panels. It's going to be great. So we're excited about that. We were able to get that. So the cost of this right now, the early bird is at $100. That's it. We were going to do this live, but what's interesting, we heard a lot of people come back and tell us, hey, can you do it online? And so when you sign up, if you miss a session one night, you will get the recording the next day. So that way you'll get access to it, and then you'll be able to watch the recording at your convenience. And it's not one of those things where, hey, now you got to pay us more to keep the recording, to keep it forever. No. That's all inclusive. We're going to put it in a course framework, and that way you'll always have access to it to watch it at your convenience or go back and review information as well. So we are very, very excited about this. So
absolutely. Yeah, and sign up early, and because that way it'll give my office time to get, because if you sign up for this webinar, you'll be receiving the book directly from me in my office from Wounded Leadership. So sign up early so you can make sure to have that before the webinar starts.
Yep. And we also, it's good to get your profile to you, do the assessment so you get your profile. So when we have this webinars, you'll have that ready. All right. Well, with that, that's all of the introduction stuff that we've got. Real quick before we move on, I have to do an intellectual property notice. All PCM content, so the process communication model content, is the intellectual property of Kaler Communications Incorporated. And we at Servants by Design, we make no claim of ownership of any of the intellectual property for that. But Servants by Design, we are the exclusive spiritual application of PCM. So we have the license and the how shall I say, we are under license. We have the ability to share this information, but we don't own it. Also, all other content that we have within these webinars over the next several weeks is copyrighted property of Communicate for Change, LLC, we're Servants by Design, with portions from Next Element Consulting. We are using this by permission. Some aspects of this we have adapted specifically for pastors, but it's based on work done by Next Element. We've in a contract with them that we're allowed to do this as well. So, all right. Well, with that being said, let's talk about the race of our lives.
I hear background music in my head when you say that.
Well, my son Troy has been watching Formula One racing, and I thought, what a good analogy. Now here's where we have the, what do we call this? This is the what race is this?
It's drag racing.
It's drag racing, right?
Yeah, you're not redneck enough, man. Come on.
I'm not. Well, the drag racer, you've got different kind of fuel types that you have to use for drag racing. Because what's the purpose of drag racing? I want to go a quarter mile as fast as I possibly can. And drag racing, they can go quarter mile, no obstacles. They can they can get top speed 338 miles an hour in 3.65 seconds.
Yeah, I had a neighbor one time that had a drag car that he built, and as soon as I moved in, he calls me and he apologizes for the car because he said, "This is going to be really loud." And I said, "How much trouble would we get in if we drove around the block?" That was the fastest drive around the block I've ever seen in my life. It was epic.
That's funny.
It was so fun.
Oh my goodness, that's funny. All right, so also I want to share with you the this here is actually a Pikes Peak race, And so it's almost 12 and a half miles. It's 156 turns, climbing 4,720 feet and doing it in under 8 minutes. Now, evidently, this car here, though, is an electric car.
That's ridiculous.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
And so, again, different fuel type, different energy type to get up to the top. And then, of course, I want to talk about Le Mans race, 24 hours, 3,000 miles, 26,000 gear changes. Now, I love me a manual transmission. Don't get me wrong, but I cannot imagine doing 26,000 gear changes in 3,000 miles.
That's wearing it out.
Woo! They do 30 fuel stops and tire changes. Now, the thing about each of these races is they each have a different fuel type. They each have a different purpose, and they each have a different way they recharge and distance and purpose. So, with that being said, I want to talk about specifically why the race of our lives is unique and why we have to look at different perspectives for each one of us in our lives. Well, the first is, I don't know about you guys, but the last 4 years have been the most uncertain times in our history that I have ever experienced. And I'm not even going to say how old I am.
Older than me. Even though I look older, you are actually older. And I just like to put that in there for the record.
Thank you. Very nice. I didn't hit puberty till 30. No, I'm just kidding. That's not true. All right. But I mean, realistically though, we've had, the whole aspect of what's the best way to say it, is these times have been so uncertain, and we don't really have an inkling of anything kind of settling. There is no new normal. It's just normal kind of a thing. I mean, what have we had? We've had COVID, Ukraine. We've got cultural discussions that are going on. We've got church denominational discussions going on. Just within a denomination, things are happening within the Southern Baptist Convention, with the United Methodist Church, with all kinds of different denominations. And we work, Service by Design, we work with a lot of them. It's very interesting just to get the feedback about just all the things that are happening. Now, the other thing I want to share with you about why it's unique is protracted. What do you mean by protracted? That sounds like a fancy mathematical term. You know it. I'm just kidding. So what that boils down to is, I don't know about you, but do you ever feel like there's an end in sight? I'm just thinking all the time about, oh my goodness, I love to plan ahead, but it's hard to plan ahead for anything because things change so rapidly. And part of it is, I don't know about you, but how many of you believe that, is there going to be an end to this? You believe that this is just how things are? The other thing I want to talk about is why it's unique. It's vague. And what I mean by that specifically is, there's no specific set of rules on how to handle all the different things that are happening, even within our churches in the last 4 years, all the changes that are happening. There's not like a rule book that says, this is how you do church polity kind of a thing, or this is how you handle these issues. And I've met a lot of pastors that are just trying to do the best they can. And so that's one of the things we do at Servants by Design. So one of the things we do at Simplify Church, also what Matt does with Wounded Leadership, is to try to help give some sense of direction or encouragement through these vague times. The other thing is pretty disruptive. And what I mean by that is what we're all facing are dealing with just things that just don't seem to be steady. And it interrupts every aspect of our lives. There is no normal, new normal, old normal. It just is. Yeah. And what that does is, that disruption creates an emotional response in all of us. In other words, it causes us great distress, and stress begets distress. And if we're living distress, the people around us are living in distress, or those living in distress around us, we're feeling that as well. So,
going back to that last slide, it reminded when I was writing and studying and working through the Wounded Pastor, I coined the phrase post-traumatic spiritual stress disorder. And I don't want to go too far, because I think sometimes people use that too quickly. But I interviewed a friend of mine who is Marine, who is deployed twice in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I talked about that prolonged stress as it applies to especially pastors, but church leaders and stuff, those in that area. And he said that the difference, he said when he was over there in deployed, he said you had a rear base that you would go to, and you could let your guard down, you could kind of rest, you knew others were guarding the gate.
Uh-huh.
He said, but even when you went out on patrol, he said largely you knew who the enemy was. It was identifiable. You knew who your friends were and stuff like that. But he said in pastoring, all of these things kind of hit this. It's like you never get any downtime, even at home when you're at
Mm.
rest. You're thinking about the job, or the glass bowl that we live in, that people are always calling, and you're always available. He said a lot of times the enemy, and again, we can go to the webinar. We'll dive into this further, but the enemy is not easily definable, and sometimes it's the people who should be
Mm.
your battle buddy are the ones that hurt you the most. And so it painted a really good picture for me of what pastors go through, and how this builds into this emotional, visceral response of it just overwhelms until the point where you're just a mess, because the enemy's vague. You never get some downtime. You don't feel protected. Your time is not your own. All of these things. So, just wanted to show that it kind of painted a really good picture of me of what pastors are up against.
Yeah.
Why
Gosh, that's good.
the pastoral race is so unique.
Right.
And you said earlier about everybody's different. It's we try to put this healing process into everybody heals the same, and that's just not the case. And
Mm-hmm.
got to find that formula that works for each one of us. But yeah, it just gave me a really good mental picture about the battle we face.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, as we go into that, one of the things I like to do is um, start talking about how do we come to grips with that battle that
Mm-hmm.
we face. I do want to share this is that all of us have a personality engine that drives us. Just like we talked about the vehicles at the beginning, each one was different, had a different purpose. But all engines, all personalities have the same basic parts. One of the things that we believe at Servants by Design within our model, not a theory, but it is a model, is that all of us have all these same parts within us.
Mm-hmm.
Every engine has all the same basic parts to it. Each one, though, is built to deliver a unique performance. And that's what we talk about within our personality frameworks, especially how we connect and interact with the world around us.
Mm-hmm.
And each one needs specific fuel to function best. In other words, different personality frameworks need different psychological and motivational needs than others. And so that's where we help people hone in to realize what is your specific personality framework to help recharge and refuel. How did God design you? All of us, just like a car, have indicators to tell how things are going. Those are our distress patterns. Just like you have lights that blink on a car. Warning, warning,
I
danger, Will Robinson.
want to know how many of you out there have the little smiley face sticker over your check engine light in your vehicle.
Right.
That's what we do. We just I'll just put a sticker over
I'm
it.
just
Just
gonna put the face over.
let's cover that up. So I
Yeah.
know there's a problem, but we're just going to pretend that.
Right. Well, speaking of that, how you drive matters. And how you take care of your body, how do you take care of your engine, how you take care of your personality matters. And so that's some of the things that we're gonna just keep in mind, that we talk about types in people, not types of people.
Mhm.
And really, it is about how you take care of yourself. So with that being said, let's talk about this. Let me ask this question.
Hmm.
How has your personality responded to the days that we've been talking about? Are you on the left side where you're like a well-oiled machine, Or are you like the car on the right that's smoking and broken down?
There are so many more days I'm like the car on the right, but I just put a really good paint job on it so it looks good sitting on the side of the road smoking.
Ah, the whitewash cup.
Like, how's your car run? It doesn't, but doesn't she look pretty?
Oh my goodness, that's so funny. Oh goodness. So, all right. Well, with that, I want to talk about, let's go into more detail. So now let's talk about being the car on the right.
Yeah.
That's what we're here to face. That's what we're here to talk about. This is what pastors are not talking about that we need to discuss.
Well, and that brings out a really important thing, because so many times to our people, to our church, to even our spouses, sometimes to the person we see in the mirror, we put up this front like I'm the car on the left, man. I've got it figured out, because
Yes.
we're taught not to be vulnerable, and so we say I can't admit that my engine is smoking. I can't admit that I need a tune-up.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the first thing we got to do, is as pastors and leaders, is it's okay to admit, hey, my car needs to go to the shop.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a failure. That's a
It's not.
reality.
And we're here to tell you that it's more prevalent than you realize.
Oh, without a doubt.
You are not alone. So it is okay to reach out.
Absolutely.
Well, so here come the stats part to talk about the burnout pandemic. Mental and physical exhaustion from the chronic workplace stress. This is just the workplace in general. 86% of high potentials are at risk of burnout. This is from the 2021 DDI Global Leadership Forecast. They do a forecast every year. It's a very good. You can get the report for free. It's very interesting reading as they've continued on. But 86% are at potential risk of burnout. For healthcare workers, 55% have reported burnout based upon the 2021 Kaiser Family Foundation survey. So, of course, this is the year into the pandemic, and a lot of them are burned out and feeling it. Now,
Well,
you say something? I'm sorry, Matt.
yeah. Sorry, I was just going to add to that, because in soul shepherding, I found this site earlier, a site called Soul Shepherding in Statistics on Pastor and Ministry Stress. So this is like fresh. 91% have experienced some form of burnout. 18% say they're fried to a crisp.
Wow.
So
Okay.
I think those numbers in the last several years, because you talk about that's mid-pandemic, I think as we kind of work our way out of that, I think those numbers are getting higher.
Agreed.
Yeah,
They
I think
are.
they're very conservative.
Yeah. So, well, here are just the consequences of burnout. You've got burnout. What are we talking about? Depression, anxiety, other mental health problems, lower morale and engagement. Just don't care.
Yeah.
Reduced productivity, turnover in organizations is happening more than ever. Reduced innovation and problem solving abilities because you're tired. You're not thinking. You just don't care. Don't think of it. And it's even affecting relationships.
Yeah.
As well. So what does this mean for pastors? Now, this is a 2021 study that I want to share specifically from Faith Life and Church Communications. And our pastors burned out. Now, on this one, yeah, right. I almost always feel burned out. So I want you to look at the green area here. You've got 17% who are under 25 agree. They're always burned out. That's that fried to a crisp you're talking about. 25 to 40%, or excuse me, 25 to 40-year-olds, you have 40% that always feel burned out.
Yeah.
In ages 41 to 60, you have 36%. So again, at least a third that feel burned out. Over 60, you have 21% of those over 60 who are still in ministry feel burned out. And so that is huge numbers. Let's give you some more stats. This was the sobering one for me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
12% of pastors considered suicide in the past year. More than 1 in 10 pastors admitted to contemplating suicide. That was in 2020.
That doesn't, I mean, it does not surprise me, but yeah, that was one of those that It's one of those statistics. A lot of them you can kind of go through. Yeah, you can almost dismiss, but this one kind of is a gut punch.
It is. It surely is. And so when things get stressful, I thought this was an interesting question is what are some things that you can do to help you unwind? And what did they say? Now, I'm just going to read these. I'm not going to talk about it because later on, especially in week 4, we're going to really hit this hard.
Yeah.
We're going to hammer this on some actual scientifically stated ways of what's so not just, hey, what do you need to do? No, we're going to help you hone in on who you are and some things that you can do specifically for you. And so I'm excited about that. So please make sure you're with us every week. But it says like being with friends or family, 54%, that helps them unwind. Having hobbies, 65% are prayer. I kind of joked with Matt before saying I think some people Jesus juke that a little bit. The television, a lot of people watch television. I personally love movies. That's how I unwind. I want to be taken away to another world and just let my mind rest for a while.
Yeah.
Exercise. Who are these folks? Goodness. No, I'm just kidding. I'm teasing, right?
I ride a bike, man. I'm long distance cycle guy, so I call my bike cheaper than therapy. Yeah, just give me a bike in 30 miles and I'm better.
I don't know. I heard some bikes are pretty expensive.
Well, there's that.
Oh gosh. Reading, internet, social media, and then there's some who say alcohol. Obviously, those are not the Baptist, or maybe they are. Maybe they are the Southern Baptist.
Well, you've heard the joke, the only place Baptists don't recognize each other, right?
Oh, is it the
at the liquor store?
At the liquor store. Okay. Oh, all right. So here's the latest information out of this week. Is actually even yesterday that Barna, in conjunction partnering with World Vision, Brotherhood Mutual, Right Now Media, and World Impact, have released. They actually released it on February 25th, but they announced it at a webinar yesterday. The State of the Pastors Volume 2. Volume 1 was done in 2017, with studies done in 2015 and 2016, and so I want to share with you some of the statistics from this. Big shout out, the third of Protestant senior pastors. So they had different organizations that they did their study with. It was really interesting. But Protestant senior pastors, a third of them considered quitting full-time ministry last year, 2023.
I think that's low, but yeah, I'll give it to them.
Yeah, right. Right. Those are at least the ones who stated, but let's just go with it. Even that's a high number in my mind.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That they've contemplated quitting. This one real quick, all I want you to do is kind of look at the slant that's happening. The orange line, if you're from the South, that's how I used to say it when I was a kid. They feel very satisfied with their vocation as a pastor, 72%. And then last year it was at 59. Now it was up from 2022, but still down from where it was from 2015. The green line, they feel more confident about their calling compared to when they first entered ministry. That was at 66, hit a low at 35% in 22, but now it's back up to 51%. And then feeling very satisfied in their ministry at their current church was at 53, is down at 47% this year. Now, what I see on this is, there seems to be an uptick between the last year.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But in all openness, that's still low. That's half of folks that are really, really experiencing changes in their view of ministry. Plain and simple. Here's the next one. Pastors' reports of considering self-harm or suicide. So this is the latest information off of that 12%. Where are we at today? Where we're at today is the 8% here is, yes, they were fleeting, but passed quickly. I did have thoughts, but they passed quickly. Hey, I've had occasional thoughts, but they weren't severe, is at 9%. Frequent distressful thoughts, 1%. Now, in my mind, you're still running the same stat.
Yeah, that's all the same.
You're still having those thoughts. Let's just say let's say it's 10% technically that are still having those either occasional or frequent thoughts.
Well, and sometimes we fail to let the statistics speak, but let's understand the scope of how many pastors that means, because
Mm-hmm.
you just take all evangelical pastors, that's just 10% of that is several hundreds of thousands of men who are in this category.
Mm-hmm.
This,
In,
this is,
in applying the statistics on the broad base, you are correct.
yeah, this is a
Yeah,
sobering statistic.
it really is. Yeah. Yes, 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 yes. Let me share a couple more slides with you guys. Most pastors do not seek professional help for their mental health. And this is why no one's talking about it.
Absolutely.
This is the proof that no one's talking about it. The pastors aren't getting help. Now, you do have some. The red line you see is 2022, 2023. You do see some uptakes that, hey, I have a spiritual advisor I can talk with. I have a personal mentor, a professional counselor, 10%. A therapist, professional mentor, life coach, didn't want to answer. There's 2%, other 2%, but none of the above. 63% in 2022 said they don't seek any kind of help. 52% of 2023 said they don't seek any kind of help. Again, that's a sobering statistic. And we want to tell it's okay to talk about it. We've been there. I think the biggest thing for Matt and I is we understand it. We know what that looks like. We've experienced it. We know the thoughts that come through your mind. We know the belief structure that starts forming in your brain. We know the feelings and emotions that really start getting a hold of you. And so we're here to tell you you're not alone. And we're here to help try to give you some tools, equip you with some skill sets to help you through that process. And that's what this whole series is about.
Absolutely. And that's what the webinar is about. That's what this series is about. Is, what helped us with Stephen and myself is we learned to be vulnerable. And we learned to, it's the quintessential, the first step is admitting you have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I think all through ministry, this we could go on a tangent on this, and I'll try not to, but we have set up the wrong definitions of success, and because of a lot of those definitions of success, then we have set pastors up to not seek help. We have set them up to you can't show weakness.
Mm-hmm.
You can't show weakness to your people. You can't show weakness to others. But you cannot survive ministry without seeking help at some point. I get asked in the counseling world all the time. They ask me, well, who do you counsel? And I said, well, everybody needs counseling. I just talk to the ones that admit it.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you think some of the reasons are that this 63% and 52%?
I'm glad you asked.
It's, hey, you got a slide on that.
Right, I sure do.
That was a softball segue there for you.
Well, I love it. Thank you. Appreciate that. 37% said, I don't need to use these services. So I think that's the whole admission. 24% say it's too expensive. Now, I'll be open with you. There is a cost factor to it.
Right.
But you are so much more better on the other side. I love saying much more better, but you do become much more better on the other side. You do get some tools. Some say I don't have the time. I feel that, and we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Time surgery. Some 5% say I don't feel their services are effective. We are going to give you some proven strategies, everybody.
Yeah, we can easily disprove that one.
Yeah. Yep. Hey, actually, now that I think about it, our April resiliency webinar is cheaper than one counseling session, and they're going to get a whole lot of stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, let's give a commercial here. And,
Right.
and I was going to be that guy and sit there because I confront this all the time. You just one time a month don't go out to eat, and you can afford a counseling session.
Mm-hmm.
You can spend money on the gym. You can spend money on subscriptions, all of these different things that you bring in that are escape modes. if you want to be healthy, you'll find the way. The other thing is ask around. There are places, Pastoral Transitions, Pastoral Home Network. There's this rising movement of entities out there that will help you. I'll give you a personal
Mhm.
example. For me, when I was at my lowest point, I sought some counseling, and I had an association that stepped up to the plate because I asked and said, "Hey, we will take care of this many sessions." So put yourself out there, ask for help, and you'll find that it's a lot more affordable than you think.
Mhm. I when I was at a pretty large church serving, on staff, on the pastoral staff in, Kansas City,
Yeah,
and, one of the greatest freeing moments, I think, for me was when the senior pastor,
yeah,
admitted that he was seeing a counselor,
hmm,
and he was open, and he gave permission to the congregation saying, "It's okay. It's actually very helpful."
yeah,
And that was really encouraging to know, just the openness of a pastor saying, my senior pastor who was saying, "Hey, I go to counseling. I go it for routine checkups or times that I'm having struggles I mean, it just continued to go." Now,
yeah.
I have to say this real quick. So he got all the pastoral staff. We all came together and sat in with his counselor one time, as part of that. And it was
I like it.
great. It was
Yeah,
fantastic. I thought, oh, we could go and come see this guy. Nah, he was already booked. None of us could go see him, but hey, whatever.
it's like, yeah, okay, maybe not.
Oh
But I
God.
mean, gosh, church members, Pastor Appreciation Month. We pastors don't need another little thing to sit on their desk. Business owners, Christian business owners that might be listening to this, go to your pastor and say, "Look, you know, confidentiality or something, confidentially, whatever the case may be." Go to your pastor and say, "Look, I don't know where you're at. You may be doing
Mhm.
100% fine, but if you need it, I'm going to take this however much money and I'm going to set it aside. If you
Yep.
ever need to talk to somebody, here it is."
Yep. I had just that happen for me in a
Yeah,
time I really
absolutely.
needed. There was a Christian business owner who, actually stepped in and helped pay for some counseling sessions
Absolutely.
for
And I
me.
know there's some Christian business owners out there that could easily do that for pastors.
Yep. All right. So continuing on why some pastors don't do it, they'll say, well, if some 4% prefer not to say, I would be ashamed to use these services. And we're here to tell you there is no shame. You will come out stronger. And I dare say that your ministry is better on the other side. It's been
Absolutely.
my experience.
1000%.
I was able to connect with people better.
Absolutely.
I was able to be open and more authentic afterwards. My best years of ministry were after those times where I had to come to grips and let go of the shame and the guilt
Yeah.
of that. And God just opened doors like crazy to be an encouragement to others. So,
Yeah,
uh,
your ministry will be more vibrant because if you don't heal from the hurt that you've experienced in ministry or whatever that you're dealing with, then inevitably, without knowing it, you will become a toxic leader because you learn survival lessons. You put up shields. So I'm just
mhm,
I'm you. I'm just going to make sure it never happens again. And I've seen time and time again, wounded. Yeah, it's kind of like the wolf in the trap. When you try to go up and help them release, they're going to bite at you.
mhm.
It's because they've been wounded, and it's easy to become toxic. And so if you will heal, you will look, I guarantee you, you will look back and go, wow, I had no idea
Mhm.
that that ministry could be this way.
Well, we're reaching 44 minutes, everybody, and I really appreciate your time. So we're going to wrap up here real quick. So one of the big takeaways that we're talking about is it is okay to seek help. Find someone you can connect with that you can seek help from.
Absolutely.
A trusted counselor. Talk to other pastors in your area and see if they see one. If there's a pastor that you trust, a fellow pastor that you trust in an area. But I want to also give you a definition to kind of help you understand stress just a wee bit. Stress primarily is about real and perceived demands on us divided by real and perceived resources. So you're like,
Absolutely.
you're like, what do you mean by that, Stephen? Well, it's the aspect of stress versus distress. And there is a thing called eustress, which is stress that encourages us. But that takes a little bit to get to compared to what we're all going through today.
Yeah. Tune in next week.
Tune in next week, right? But there are some things that we're going through that are real, and there are some things that we're going through that are perceived. Now, it's just from our perception of things. But either way, real or and perceived demands on us. The goal is what we want to do is we want to be able to we want to reduce our stress. And how do we do that? Well, first we've got to really bring down our real and perceived demands in our lives. In the productivity world, Tiago Forte, there's some other, even Tim Ferriss and even Lewis Howes, they'll sit there and they'll tell you, you've got to be ruthlessly selective on what you do and what you don't do. For good versus great. Tim Collins, Jim Collins. Yeah, it really is about picking. There's a lot of great things that we can do or good things we can do, but there are only those things that we should focus on. We have to make those decisions. But then we also have to make sure that we increase our real and perceived resources. Now, I know that seems like an oversimplification, but our goal is to help you with that. So over the next 3 weeks, we're really going to talk about the perceived demands, real and perceived demands, but also how do we increase those resources? And we've given you one that it's okay to go talk to someone, and we encourage you to do so.
Absolutely.
All right. So there's a lot more to discuss. We're very excited about just sharing this with you. I really hope this has been beneficial for you. Please feel free to comment, share this video with a pastor or ministry leader that you think it would be beneficial for them. We're getting ready to give out our other scheduled webinars on the Fridays, these free Fridays ones. And so we're pretty excited about it. So
that's the tip of the iceberg. We're just getting started. This was just the introduction to the sermon. I mean, we're just really ready to dive in.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I know Matt's excited, and we're just really pumped. So a couple of things real quick, just to share with everybody is, if you want to connect with me, feel free to send me email at connect@servantsbydesign.com. Connect@servantsbydesign.com. You can check out our website at servantsbydesign.com. But also, if you want to reach out to Matt, his email is thewoundedpastor@gmail.com. Thewoundedpastor@gmail.com, or you can check out his website, woundedleadership.com. And there is where we have all the information about what's coming, where you can sign up for the event, go under events, and you'll see the Wounded Leadership Conference, Pastor Resiliency Conference. And pretty excited about that. If you want to check out more about Simplify Church, just go to simplifychurch.com just to learn more about how we can take some of those administrative tasks, the bookkeeping and the payroll and those kinds of things off your plate so you can have more time for ministry. All right.
Say real quick, if you're a pastor listening to this, or somebody sent this to you, and you are at that end of the rope, go to woundedleadership.com, biblical counseling page. There's a number there you can call. We can do telehealth because of a partnership I have with the local church. The rates are half of the national average. So if you are ready to reach out and counsel, give me a call. We can work something out.
Absolutely. Excellent. All right. Whew. That's just a tip of the iceberg, everybody.
This is going to be fun.
Yeah. So the rest of the time, we've given you some practical application, but the next 3 weeks are going to be heavy on practical application. Where we just talk about permissions to give yourself. We're going to talk about what it means to be emotionally authentic, and then we're also going to talk about how to energize and motivate yourself based upon how God's designed you. All right. Well, with that, everybody, be sure to check out the links below as well. And we are excited. So thanks so much for joining us. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to put them in the comment section or shoot us an email. We appreciate you.
Sounds good. See you next week.
Yep. See you, everybody.